The Yoga of Sound has 19 tracks, I believe, and even more so than the Tulasi Devi song sequence. This set by Russell really gets you in the mood for chanting along with it. We have a set that focuses on affirmations, if you want to give it a word. Then we have harmonizing. And then we have intimacy and other stimulated results. And we have more words for yoga that are gone into other than what is listed straight up in the main titles. We could also look at the division here as transcendence, core, and dissolution. And one of the things that we have with this is that if I really didn't have anything else, I could make listening to this, repeating with it, taking the actions related to it outside of that, my spiritual life. I really could. In the first Bhava Yoga, we have 6 tracks, and we have the journey of the devotee. We have the invocation for peaceful purposes. We don't go as completely in this series into what all the terms mean, but some of the terms I have looked up myself. We have the fact that some of this goes beyond the genders that you're usually going to hear of, like the Shrima stuff. We get into things working together, building awareness, working with different speeds and different techniques. Naturally, it's implied that there's certain movement that goes with the rituals like this. We ascend and descend. Arunachala, again, you don't have to worship the forms, are separate gendered divinities or something like this. You can think of this as all relating to the same divinity without necessarily worshiping through an idol. Arunachala is related to the sacred mountain and the cave in the sacred mountain. When I would go to Mount St. Helens, I would, say this chant, Arunachala Shiva. I would, in the way of the program. And I'm sure this stuff is just super practiced too. Parallels can be drawn between the various traditions when we're going over this stuff. Because certainly the use of the spiritual leader, the spiritual orders is, essential to what's going on here. I'm not as articulating as well as when I first did this program, but that was lost. So on to Shakti Yoga, the Om Namah Shivaya. we think of this kind of like the queen cards of the tarot. Again, you don't have to picture a blue dude with a bunch of arms and all that sort of stuff. But auspicious and all that is what we're relating to. And it can kind of hit the spot that people try to reach with marijuana. So one of my points that I really try to drive home is that you can reach all these states without using intoxicants of any sort. It just takes practice. And so there's got to be some sort of motivation behind it. Just like, I'm doing rituals so I can get high. It's like, yeah. You got to figure out how to breathe with the mantras, breathe with the movement, the positions that would be the most meaningful, or perhaps the most traditional, most devotional, or just something maintained, right? Because you don't want something that you just can't do much of, when you could do something a lot of. The Devi mantras does relate to what we have with the Bija mantras, in that every single sound has meaning, and I don't have broken down all the meaning. But basically, your body is a vehicle for these spiritual forces. And you also might want to consider the objects that you might want to bring to the offering table, and how matter defeats some beings are one's ability and endurance. And Om Shakti, praise energy. Om is like yes, the great affirmation. Avi Shakti is primal energy. Maha, mind. Shakti is power. Para Shakti, supreme force. Salutations. I know that there are 114 chakras. If we're going to use the definition of these convergent points, which cause the manipulation of the experience, sensually, emotionally, psychologically, via certain neurochemicals. But, you know, most people are going to talk about the 7. Lum, fum, rum, hum, yum. And then some would say, oh. And others go, and then you might want to whisper as a further thing. And I don't have my meanings for those, but of course we go the tailbone, the genital, or the coccyx, really. Well, no, I mean not the coccyx, the coccygeal body. Is that what the thing's called? Then you have the genitals, the abdomen, the solar plexus, the throat, the brows, and over the head, and down with them all. There are colors more likely to result than others. There are, you know, the F/V sound kind of at the same time is the second chakra sound. There are further bija mantras associated with the central bit there. So all the sounds, I don't remember how many sounds there are in Sanskrit, but yeah. Okay, so we definitely get to, in this CD, and not just because it's called tantric mantras, into what's not yoga. So we get into the left-hand path, which is tantra. It's like it goes out the tantra and the weaving in, and the yogic is kind of like the drawing down the moon and that sort of stuff. And most religions are actually both right and left hand path. Let's not pretend too much there. Because people are all left hand path and right. It's like left hand path is not the left hand of God, like like in the Bible or something. No, that's not the same thing. But on you, it's clearly yes. I'm going to have the full initial purity of perception and experience. And you're asking for a control of one's self-discipline, or you're weaving that idea of yourself. The self-evocation is what Tantra is about. It doesn't mean you have to think you're a god or whatever. You just kind of realize that you're manifesting these divine qualities, much like some of the Sufi groups will teach you. Anaya Dawun. And you roll that down, like front of the head, na, bottom of the head, like your jaw, ya, your chest, but then the thou, and then hun is where you push. So that goes your whole body. You're pushing it out from your pelvis, and you can kind of feel it in your legs if you do it right. This is the highest fulfillment, the channel, the remover of blocks. The na would be the negation. Om is like yes, na is like no, and then but it's a slow moving meditation. And so no, Tantra and sex magic is not the same thing, but yoga and Tantra, certainly your spiritual principles can have that. That's why there's the stage of householder, householder. There's a lot of work that can be done as a householder. Swara yoga is that which makes its own sweetness. And we look at the tone, the division, the pitch, the rhythm, and we ascend and descend, and we work on the different energy centers, and we bring about, we preserve, we rest, we dissolve. It's, just breaking of that. But as I said with Tantra, it's the fabric. It's the integration with the totality of being. Shabda Yoga is the last program. We involve ourselves in Rudram, and I don't quite get that, but from the Yajurveda is probably what we're looking at here. And we're calling on who destroys the sorrows of the world, aka Rudra, at least, that term. And Bhagavati, the divine personality. And of course, that relates to our own consciousness. We salute divinity, the greatest of the greatest over the light beings, the Devis. And we want what's best for us, basically. I'm not sure exactly what formula is used and what we got here, but that's what I have with that. We have this Aum track, and you can chant with other chants going on top of it, and that's, I guess, the idea going on there. The Aum is just, just like the, it's almost inverted because it's a lower But the would be cerebral. The oo would be throat and top of the core. Would be lower. And as I said, I don't really know the chant above it. The rudram, note D, C, and D sharp, and it's something about burning away impurities. So as long as you get that idea in with what you're doing. Mukasasta Sukinu Babantu. May this world be established with a sense of well-being and happiness. And remember to, say chants until you've got some sort of thing going on where either you just don't go through it. But then again, if you go through things once, you're fine. But it's nice sometimes to just take minutes or 20 minutes. Well, that's minutes, but you say things repeatedly. Lum Havixliv Azib Rumzipti Lum Katzdiv Havixliv. Wo Kulti Haziram Zipti is one of the chants that I personally use. And then we have the acetoma. And this is one particularly that people would say when walking. Acetoma sangamaya, from the unreal to reality. Tamasoma jyothregamaya, from darkness to light. Mrityorma amratam gamaya, from death lead me to immortality. And one thing that people would say at the end of chants, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. You let that last bounce, we had the Vyarati, the sacred utterance. Umbu, Umbuha, Umbuva, Umbuvaha, Umsuva, Umsubaha, Maha, Maha, Umjana, Umjanaha, Umtapa, Umtapaha, Satyam, Satyam. So that's the only one that you don't list anything extra there. Again, you're working with 7. So the world, the skies, what's beyond the skies, the great realm of the spiritual beings, and then the upper world, so perhaps the non-gendered spiritual beings, and then to that free from fire, Tapa, is that free from fire? Jana, so Tapa would be like the higher heaven, where people that don't have to go to hell before going to heaven, heaven in the afterlife. It's a metanomial. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, the word heaven is used like it's, and the highest plane of existence is Satyam. Then, of course, we have the Yatri hymn. Vasbha Tapsavatu Varaniyam Vago Vedasya Vimahe Loyo Prachodaya. And salutations with the word present on earth, the heavens, and that which is beyond through meditating on the glorious life-giving power. We ask that our minds and hearts be illuminated, and whichever one you stop on, again, Om, confirming it. Krato smara kutham smara. My soul, remember all that you have worked for thus far. And we're talking about clockwise movement. We're talking about arising and awaking. And then, of course, closing meditations. I don't have all the words written for this one. But we're the Ta'it Tereya regards the laws of the universe, wanting to be blessed by the deity that controls the universe. Saying that may we be blessed by the God of heaven, the God of thunder, the God that preserves, prostrating and serving the supreme deity of reality, the deity of prayer, before the power of the wind and all that. Perceiving how one is, magical powers obtained by rituals or something guarded. So we're trying to be the sort of individuals who can obtain that. Now, I mean, magic is in the art and science of religion, not the working with evil spirits or whatever, how we in the West tend to use it as a slur. That's not what I mean. We're wanting knowledge, life, wisdom, life. We're asking protection on who has taught us. And we're again referring back to the supreme sound. And yeah, there's more meaning to what I've shared here, but basically I thought I'd just say some important features of what I went over.